Hey guys, welcome to the Massive Iron Channel. I'm Steve Shaw. In this video, I'm going to talk about the 5 dumbest hypertrophy fads from the last several years. Before I get into this topic, if you guys have any questions or comments, drop them down below. If you need coaching, I'd love to help. Coaching is what I do for a living. All right, we're going old school, propping up the phone on my squat rack. And I got my handy dandy note card. I'm going to get into 5 of the dumbest, not the only dumb hypertrophy fads from the last several years, but certainly these 5 are very impactful, meaning they impacted the community quite a bit. So if you're looking to build muscle, if you're looking for hypertrophy to win the hypertrophy, these fads may have derailed you or confused you. All right, number 1, lengthened partials are the best way to grow. This is recent, of course. We all watched a couple people go down the rabbit trail of lengthened partials, like somehow in 2024 and 2025, we came up with the new best way to build muscle. And we had some of these influencers just go completely all in and go crazy. Lengthen partial this and lengthen partial that. And old school training was set aside. And all we want to do is lengthen our partial, right? So we've been there and done that. We watched the train wreck and we realized, hey, there are many ways to train. Lengthened partials are not the holy grail of training. Use them on a specific exercise if you want. But we also have the last 70, 80, 90 years of hypertrophy that show us they aren't a requirement. All right, number 2 from the handy dandy note card. This is a recent one. 4 to 8 reps is best for hypertrophy. This one triggers a lot of people. I get a lot of hate comments. I get a lot of triggering comments from people that really want the latest fad to be true. 4 to 8 reps are best for hypertrophy. I always get a comment like, he didn't say that. He didn't say that. Oh, we actually have quotes where he did say that. And we're not saying that, using other rep ranges wouldn't work, but there's a lot of chatter right now about 4 to 8 reps being the best for hypertrophy, right? Like everything else is kind of silly. The talk is that like everything else is kind of silly. In reality, this is extremely ignorant type of thinking, because it lacks the insight to understand that the demands of every exercise are different for me, for you, for everybody. Not every exercise is built the same. So when it comes to training, we should be basing the rep range off how we are feeling in the gym with that specific exercise. What rep range you use for bench press is going to be different for the rep range you use for pec deck. Is going to be different for the rep range you use for machine chest press or squats or whatever. The demands of every exercise are different. And when you're in the gym, you want to evolve that rep range so it is a comfortable rep range, a reasonable rep range for you on that exercise. And in that lane, that's where you're going to progress. As long as the rep range is reasonable, you're going to be fine. There are no magic rep ranges, no matter how often someone tries to get on social media and create some new fad like this. All right, number 3, we went through this one a while back, but it still kind of lingers like steaming, what. Minimalism, the whole minimalism push. This was a big thing, and it kind of happened when powerlifting took off a lot. There was a point in time, I don't know, maybe 15 years ago, roughly, where you would see a lot of lifters, hypertrophy lifters, using more base building, strength building programs, more minimal programs that were also being touted as great for hypertrophy because they were really focused on the barbell and the barbell only exercise. There's nothing wrong with these types of programs, but the problem is we kind of lost the memo a little bit when it came to bodybuilding and we stopped doing these well-rounded programs. We stopped using a reasonable exercise selection. We got really dogmatic and just started using a limited number of exercises. In no world is this best for hypertrophy. I'm not somebody that's going to tell you need 528 exercise variations or anything radical, but hitting a muscle or a group of muscles with several different exercises is always going to be a better scenario than hitting it with a minimal number of exercises, 1 or 2. All right, number 4, and this one was kind of quiet, but it did linger around a little bit, and I saw some chatter on it. And basically, that intensity techniques were useless. Doing any form of intensity work during your hypertrophy, training was useless. Let's just train in the low rep ranges, to train everything to failure. You don't need intensity techniques, they're useless. And this one really was a little bit unnerving because it was a jab at hard training. There is nothing that is a requirement when it comes to intensity techniques. Drop sets, supersets, rest pause, whatever the case is, there are no requirements when it comes to hypertrophy. We want to look at the bigger picture when we are looking at a workout. With that said, if anything you're doing in the gym is servicing hard training, is focused on hard training, and has progressive overload in the mix, it's going to have volume for hypertrophy or muscle building. The voices out there that are acting like intensity techniques or intensifiers or finishers don't have any value, are just confusing and muddling hypertrophy and taking you away from a lot of the real focus that we need to keep in hypertrophy. All right, and finally on the magic card of doom, we have one more, and this one is a biggie. The search for optimal, or the obsession with optimal training. Now, somebody's going to get their undies in a bunch, as my mother used to say. Don't get your undies in a bunch. I'm not anti-science, and I'm not someone that's going to be like just randomly dismissing things, but optimization, when we think about optimization, we can't think of it as some magic training technique or some magic exercise. Optimization is a process for you, and it is a process for me, and the end result is going to be different for each of us. This is a principle I call evolving training based on needs. You're going to get into the gym, you're going to attack the iron, you're going to learn what works for you and what doesn't, you're going to keep what works, you're going to evolve your training based on needs, based on what is happening in the gym, and you're going to dump the rest. As long as you have a reasonable split, a reasonable exercise selection, a reasonable progression approach, and you have some form of quality nutrition that is backing up your programming, you are going to make gains. Optimal is not a specific split. It is not a specific exercise. It is not a specific progression approach. And many times in this industry, and especially in the modern landscape, we see exercises or workouts or you name it being tossed out as optimal. And this just generally wastes the time of so many lifters. And this is where it gets a little bit obscene. When you're wasting the time of a lifter and just sending him down a rabbit trail saying this, that, or the other thing is optimal, you're basically saying, it's a requirement. If we look at the last 70, 80, 90 years of lifting, we see the common pillars of success. And again, it's not an exercise, it's not a split, it's not a progression approach. It's being reasonable in your training and evolving your training based on needs so it fits you, keeps you healthy, keeps you happy, and keeps you growing. All right, guys, thanks for watching. Let me know what you think. Drop a comment down below. Have a great day.